What is your most favorite K-pop song? One that you'd love to know how to make? Maybe it is something like this.
좀 이상해 왜 둘 사이에 너만 보이는 걸까 좀 까다롭고 힘든 나이라
Or this.
I'm so picky 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 I'm so picky picky picky
Or maybe more like this. See, K-pop contains multitudes of genres and sounds, which makes it very hard to explain how to make it. Very hard does not mean impossible, however, and this is exactly what we're breaking down today. Buckle up, because this one's gonna be a ride. So let's start with what is K-pop? Of course, there are many factors outside of the sonic scape which help us define K-pop. However, when it comes to sound and genres, just like Western or any other pop music, we simply mean the songs which were popular at a certain point of time. This makes it rather hard to single out a genre. However, trends very much exist and we can easily spot them once mindful of that. And this is exactly what we would advise you to start working on right now.
How, you may ask? Truly, this would not be something you can go over in a day or even a week. Moreover, genres are not just sonic patterns, they also encapsulate culture and history. It is very important to have a good understanding of those as they capture the most important part of a song or style, the soul.
So how do we go from this to K-pop? This is the fun part, really. While people often associate K-pop with switch-ups and wild sounds, many K-pop songs are simply new takes on known genres. This means that making a good song in a genre or style one is happy, inspired and comfortable with can easily be a good K-pop song too. If you want to make a good K-pop song, find a few songs, these are often called references, with a similar feel, read about their genres and simply take it from there.
Oh, you may say, I have no idea what the genre of this song is. Well, smooth segue, you're in for a treat as we have now launched our Serpent Iris community on Discord. We welcome music makers and lovers alike, and we certainly are looking forward to discussing all things K-pop and music, including genres. Link is in the description below. Now, back to the video.
Following a single genre can result in amazing songs. However, we can't deny that K-pop often combines multiple genres. Some do it rather in your face.
Beat drop Navis calling 절대로 뒤를 돌아보지 마라
While others take a slightly more subtle approach.
뜨고 지는 건 상관없지 또 모든 게 별 생각 없이 재미있으면 너를 게 Just do it 걱정 따윈 go away
Taking the drums from one genre and the chords from another, or taking the general composition approach of one but the sound choices of another can all be very valid ways to make a novel song. Sounds a bit complicated? Let's get technical and break it down.
No, literally, we would highly encourage you to make a template. We have spoken about the typical pop song structure many times before, and this is exactly why. Setting the song structure in advance would help you keep track during the working process. And don't worry, you can always change things up if needed.
Now we have an important decision to make here: the key and the BPM of the song. The key may be important for the singer or singers the song is made for.
The BPM is usually more genre-specific. Initially, we'd encourage you to stick to the path most walked, check the BPM of your references, and do something similar. Once you're more confident, however, you can get rather interesting results if you try the known genre in a completely different BPM.
What about structuring our song vertically? Different people would have their preferred order, but this is how we generally do it.
But before we start making anything, we need the already mentioned references. We can pick different references for different sections, and if you're more experienced, you can even mix and match in a single section. What do we mean by that? Let's continue building our template and things will become much clearer.
Firstly, we need drums. In this category, we usually put kicks, snares, hi-hats, open and closed, and cymbals. There are two factors that matter here. First, we need to pick a groove, and these would be largely genre-specific. A few ones you can start with for K-pop are 4 on the Floor, which is typical for disco and house-inspired songs.
Yes, but your boy wanna keep it cool But I know every time you move Got me frozen, I get so shy, it's obvious
Various trap grooves characterized by a half-time feel on the snare and full-time on the hi-hats, as well as a rather interesting kick pattern.
I'm a
Casio-based grooves which you hear in reggaeton, moonbaton and more.
모든 타깃은 날 향해 있어 날 없이 베이는 상처 말 안 해도 알 수 있어.
And what has recently been rather popular, the breakbeat which you have most likely heard in UK garage and drum and bass tracks.
Secondly, we need to pick the right sounds. Let's take one of the grooves we just looked at and use it with sound choices we made for another example. Listen to how the vibe changes.
If you are unsure about the genre your references are, you could simply listen to them and figure out the groove and the sounds they use. This may be intimidating at first, but you will get better with practice. Alternatively, you can search for the drum sounds of a specific genre.
Once we have the basis of our drums, we can start adding percussive elements which would enhance the groove and add to the energy of the song. Shakers, bells, glitches, we can be rather creative here, but once again, different genres will suit different sounds.
하얀 구름은 내 dream car 저기 붉은 달은 hometown 놀라 우리의 blood type 풍상 가득한 our life.
I'm sweet like candy. Yeah, look, don't touch. Don't try to get handsy. You get a sugar rush.
This said, we can also afford to be fairly experimental here once we have a better understanding of what sounds fit together and why. This is also a good place to make use of ready-made sample loops. You could simply drag them and adjust the BPM and key if needed, but it would be even better if you chopped them up and really made them your own. Even if a lot of these loops or percussion elements end up being relatively low in the mix, they still add energy to the song and should not be underestimated. Oftentimes, this will be one of the elements the importance of which you notice once you temporarily mute it.
You may have heard people talk about low end in production. This refers to the lowest frequencies in a song. And this is the space usually occupied by the kick and the bass. Thus, it is very important that the two fit together. There are a few approaches to help this, however, picking good sounds would be the first step. But what even are the sound options here? And what bass lines should we create with those?
As a lot of you are already guessing, we could use an electric bass here. This one goes particularly well with the 4 on the floor groove we looked at earlier. This groove also goes well with what we call a moog bass, which you may hear in disco-inspired songs. Same groove, another bass choice typical for various house-inspired genres.
I want the oh my OMG. I want that right now, no BRB. I want the oh my big black SUV. I want that.
All of these bass sounds work really well with the 4 on the floor because they are rather short and snappy. This allows our bass line to complement the straightforward and steady groove of the drums.
Another very common bass choice is the 808. .808 basses can, but don't need to sustain for rather long, and then usually drop off at the end. This makes them perfect for complementing more varied drum grooves, as they can add fullness to the low end.
Blackpink in your area.
However, 808s are also good for creating interesting slides and motifs which can serve to drive the groove forward and even be ear candy at times.
고요했던 세상에 I cry. 실기의 등장 마치
They can also hit hard or be used rather subtly. For these reasons, 808s are incredibly versatile. You could consider them the Swiss knife of every music producer, and you can hear them in a large variety of songs.
Finally, we want to highlight a personal favorite of ours and one you can hear a lot in K-pop.
It's my day and your day, it's a party party. 불꽃 다 타올라, 어서 빨리 빨리.
This is a Reese bass, and as you can already hear, it's a rather intense sound, great for adding tension and support. The buzzy quality you hear means it occupies a wide frequency spectrum, and it is a very steady sound. It does not have a strong attack like the plucky Moog, nor does it drop off like the 808. This means we wouldn't use a Reese bass for complicated bass lines, but rather to add fullness to an already flowy section.
Having good drums and a bass line is a fantastic foundation for a beat. We can add up to that with various melodic elements, which can be both very exciting and rather overwhelming. Once again, knowing what genre we're aiming to produce can greatly help us select sounds which fit nicely together. However, we can provide some pointers to start with.
A classic, literally and figuratively, is using real instruments. Pianos, guitars, strings, wind instruments.
Boy 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 quick pick it 어서 우리 love 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 따분하게 뻗어 여기 what 잡이 따윈 없어 날 맞는다면 say it.
A lot of the sounds we hear, however, are synthesizers in some sort of form. We've mentioned this one before, but supersaws can be great for adding energy. Similar to the Reese bass we looked at earlier, supersaws occupy a wide frequency range, meaning they can add a huge lift to production.
Hey! Feeling tricky, tricky, nothing you can do about it. Little freaky, dicky, 장난스러운 노선까지. 특별한 my type. 이대로 줘봐.
On the contrary, we can use pads which feel a lot more atmospheric. In fact, there are whole sections in K-pop which are built around pads and the Reese bass, usually pre-choruses or bridges.
Finally, we can use belts, plucks, and all sorts of short, snappy sounds to add a sprinkle of glitter.
What do we play when using these instruments? One option is chords. We have a whole series which can help you come up with chord progressions, but it's good to note those can also be genre specific. Chords can make or break a song and are one of the key points of achieving a vibe you're after. And a little hint from us, chords and chord progressions cannot be copyrighted.
Additionally, some instruments can be used for melodies. You should be rather careful with those, as a too complicated of a melody can easily become distracting to a top liner or even a listener. Instead, stick to simple melodies with a regular rhythm. For example, you could play a melody that follows the rhythm of the chords for the most parts, just with some slight variation.
One exception occurs when you want the melody to be the main hook of a song. Even in this case though, you should still avoid having the instrumental melody and complex vocal melodies going on at the same time. When it comes to the sound choices, you might consider a synth lead or other more aggressive sounds that give the melody enough presence within the mix.
Something that falls rather in between chords and melodies is an arpeggio or simply arps. Those are chords but broken apart. How brutal! But yes, seriously, instead of playing the notes all at once, you play them one after another in a very repetitive and most of the time consistent pattern which builds on the chord they're played on. These are particularly good as they are rather predictable and thus not distracting while still adding movement and flair to a production. Fairly consistent arpeggios can work great in pre-choruses and bridges as they add a lot of movement and raise the energy. However, starting with an arpeggio and breaking it apart can also help with finding nice, harmonically fitting melodies.
So which instruments are good for playing chords? Pads and supersaws are mostly used for adding walls of sound, and these are good for chords. Plucks and bells can be great for melodies and emphasizing certain chords, as these sounds are short and snappy. Finally, instruments such as strings, guitars, pianos, keys can do both.
No production would be complete without the little details that set it apart. These could be transitions, sweeps, reverse cymbals, and many other sound effects that can be used to create a build-up to the downbeat of the next section and then resolve it after. You can use pre-made samples, make your own, or combine a few ready-made samples to make something you like the best.
These transitions make a huge difference, both to the general flow of the track and whether a section hits.
You can also use sound effects to make a production follow a concept more clearly. Making a song about walking through a city, adding a cityscape foley would be an easy way to add the atmosphere you're after. Singing a song about animals? Well, animal sounds are a pretty straightforward choice here. Songs often aim to build a vibe and tell a story, and adding ear candy to the production is a great way to sell the concept even better.
It is very important to practice and learn the octave ranges in which instruments sound the best. This may sound trivial, but it is vital. You do not want your bass to be too high and thus have no subfrequencies, but you also don't want it to be too low, so it's barely audible. Similarly, you don't want your keys or pads to sit in the same frequency range as the vocals, but also not in the range of the bass. Because of this, we highly encourage you to go and pitch instruments up and down to find out how their sound changes in different octaves. Doing this could also help you make some rather interesting discoveries, such as the fact that some bass instruments can be great for melodies when played in high octaves, but proceed at your own risk.
Let's summarize. Studying genres, soundscape, but also their history and their culture is vital. You need to pick the right key and BPM for the song you're making. Then, instruments. You need to consider drums, percussion, bass, melodic elements, and effects. Two aspects matter here: the sound itself and what you do with it. While there are no rules, as we've mentioned before, making a checklist like this can be a nice way to figure out if your production is complete, and if not, what may be missing. In this video, we mainly focused on production. However, if you're curious about the top lining and songwriting process, we have a whole series you can watch after.
We didn't make a full song in this video, but fear not, we're going to be doing exactly this very soon. Hopefully, this and all our other content has been helpful. We are truly grateful for your support, and we can't wait to bring you more great content. Like this video, subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss it, and do let us know in the comments, is there a particular topic you would like us to look at next?